Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, episode 300. And today I'm going to talk about residency interview presentations. And I'm going to tell you where you can look and see some examples, actually, of something that's very similar to the residency interview presentation, but a little bit shorter, under 5 minutes. But you're probably being asked to do 10 minutes to maybe up to 20 minutes of a presentation, and what I want to do is give you some tips to get there. So there's a couple of different ways to structure it. Some like to use the journalistic. Who are you? What are you talking about? When you say where, what you're really doing is saying where did you do the research? Who did you do the research with? What kind of time frame did you do with the research? Why did you do the study, and how did they come out? But I find that this who, what, where, when, why, and how isn't really encompass everything that you're going to be expected to say. So I found another one where a residency site actually outlined here are the 11 slides you should have, and they gave some potential topics, and the topics themselves are some very narrow. And the nice thing about these topics is that they are narrow. So the idea was, you know what, let me save you from yourself and let me make sure that you don't go too broad with a topic. So I'm going to read you these 8 topics, and then I'll talk about some preparation notes and how the slides would work. So first of all, the first topic is medical management of a patent ductus arteriosus in premature neonates. Why this is so important to me is that one of my daughters had patent ductus arteriosus in premature neonates, and we were, of course, very scared. The neonate obviously can't tell you this is happening, and what happens is that they desat and they lack oxygenation and things like that. And the resolution is to basically give ibuprofen, letting the patent ductus know, hey, it's time to close. You're being born. You've been born. You don't need to have that ductus arteriosus open anymore. And so what it does is it gives you a very narrow window to work with. Now, it's unfortunate that you probably can't use video. If you could, that would be great, because there's a short video on the surgery to correct this patent ductus if the ibuprofen didn't work. It's pretty amazing. It's just a couple minutes. But obviously, surgery on someone that is so fragile and so young, our daughters were born at 1.5, and 2 pounds. So that would be extremely emotional if I had to do a presentation like that. Second one is respiricase, use for TLS in pediatrics. The third was probiotics in the NICU for NEC prevention, Kawasaki disease and treatment, antifungal prophylaxis in the NICU, valley fever treatment, RSV prevention in pediatrics, and treatment options for bronchiolitis in pediatrics. But you can see how focused these are. Obviously, this is a children's hospital, and they have a very narrow focus in that regard. And you should, if they don't give you these type of topics, make it your job, if you're going to a children's hospital, to know, I'm going to do a children's presentation, and these are the types of presentations you could use. The other thing is, it's just the right amount of, okay, I can get in and get out of this presentation quickly. So the guidelines for the actual slides, the one big guideline that there's always recommend is that you don't go under that size 24 font, because if you do, you have this illegibility, and all of a sudden they're asking questions about the quality of your slide. And once they ask about the quality of your slide, they're really reflecting on the quality of you, and that you did not come prepared with a slide that they could read. Second, absolutely number your slides, because someone's going to be like, hey, can you go back to the third slide? And if you're going back and you're like, okay, 1, 2, 3, it looks very unprofessional. So you always want to number your slides. Now, this group actually said, okay, these are the 11 slides that you should have, and I think this is a great way to structure them. The first slide, of course, your title slide. Don't forget to put your name on it, and don't forget to read your name. That might be ridiculous, you know who you are, but they are going to see a lot of presentations. Second, educational objectives, just a couple of bullets. What are you going to do? What is your purpose? 3, outline. How are you going to achieve those objectives? What are you going to do? If you have any vocabulary, slide 4. Again, if it's a specialty, you definitely want to have the vocabulary in there. Be careful not to use vocabulary to try to impress people. For example, you've got like a Brandon Dyson from TLDR Pharmacy, and if you try to impress him with your oncology knowledge, and he's already board certified in oncology, it's going to be so easy for him to call you out and say, he wouldn't do this, but they would know that you're kind of pretending to know what you know. Excuse me. Fourth, or that was definitions 4. Number 5, epidemiology. So how does this, what's the cause of this disease? 6, incidence. How relevant is this in terms of, this area especially? What I fear with people that recycle their slides is that they're not looking at the actual incidents in that area. So if you're going from a hospital in Ohio to a hospital in, I don't know, let's do like New Haven, which is Yale, and then you could go to a moderate climate like UNC in North Carolina, and then a warm climate like Miami. Your incidence of certain conditions can be completely different. And if you recycle your presentation without taking the time to recognize, okay, well, in this area, this is going to be a greater or lesser incidence of whatever it is. And for example, maybe Lyme disease or something like that in an area where there are a lot of people that go out into the woods or hunters and things like that versus a place where you wouldn't really see something like that, maybe the urban jungle and so forth. Okay, so again, when you talk about this, make sure that you are, just like with your letter of intent, making sure to look at where you're going and how you can tweak it for that particular area. They're going to notice, trust me, and it's going to be so apparent, and it's going to be palm to forehead smack for those other residents if they're in the room with you, like, oh, I should have done that. I should have made it more relevant for that. Okay. Background. So what is the literature support and how does it support your topic? And see if there's any way that you can find literature that maybe would be relevant or used by that hospital. If you're looking for background, why not use something that they've published? Current treatment guidelines, and you could see what the guidelines are for that hospital. Take-home points, so the summary. And again, you're not teaching for them to remember all of this. You're teaching to give them one thing to remember. So it's kind of if you don't remember anything I've told you, remember this one pearl. And then you go into a patient case example, slide 10, where they give this instruction that you can introduce this patient case earlier, but you're going to do all of this on the condition itself. But then what they want to do is they want to see a patient case, and they want to see how this applies to a patient. And just like with a good pharmacotherapy course, you're going to go through the pharmacology, and then you're going to put it into practice. And then conclusions. What do you think? And be careful not to replicate this is what the guidelines say, or these are the take-home points. What conclusions are is this now is taking the take-home points and how you would have an action with them. Okay. So easy enough to tell you how to do this and to make these notes, but much easier to actually see someone in action. So what I did was on residencyhelp.com, if you go to the interview tab, and then under that, residency interview video. And this isn't all residency interview videos. This one in particular is going to be two presentations that I recorded at ASHP 2017, I think it was. And what I did was I went up to a couple of students who just had really phenomenal posters and ones that I was just particularly interested in. And I asked them to just do a quick presentation as a podcast episode. And I also put it up as a YouTube video. So you can go to residencyhelp.com/interview video, all one word, and go to the fourth and fifth video down. And you're going to see two Purdue students who do just a 4-minute presentation of their poster. And what you're really looking at and what you really care about is that these students are so confident and they're doing such a good job in terms of their presentation from beginning to end, and they are just phenomenal with how well they know their material. And what the residency interview committee is going to come away with is that, wow, this is a person who took a topic that they were either assigned or asked to do, and they just crushed it. And that's exactly what you want to do. So to summarize, some people try to use the who, what, where, when, why journalistic method of presenting. I don't know if that's really the best way to do it. I think planning the 11 slides, and you can add more slides than the 11, but that's just a general framework and kind of an expectation of how they want it. But third, what I really want you to do is go to residencyhelp.com/interview video and watch those two students. And you see how professional they look and how well they know their material. And although they point to their poster, they could easily not have the poster behind them and tell you everything that's on there. You can see that these students absolutely know it and they totally nailed it. So again, what the residency interview committee is going to come away with is how articulate were you when you presented, and did you answer the question, or did you do a better job than other people in presenting in a short window of time? Did you use up all your time? Did you go over? Did you go under? Again, this comes with practice. So when you go in to do your presentation, just act as if this is the poster you presented at ASHP, whether it is or isn't, and just have so much fun with it, so excited about the presentation, as if this were to be your residency project. Again, if you need help with your letters of intent as we go into phase 2, let me know. Again, aaguerra@dmac.edu or tony@residencyhelp.com. I'll be happy to help you. Hey, and if you're interested in learning more about the residency interview process, go to residencyhelp.com or amazon.com or audible.com and pick out 100 strong residency interview questions, answers, and rationales.